Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Welcome to the meditation class. So we're gonna start with the little prayer, keeping your back neck straight. Remove the glasses. Gently close your eyes. Observe and go into your posture. Check your alignment. Now bring your awareness towards how the breath going in and coming out. Observe the natural breath. Now take a deep, prolonged, slow inhalation. Deep, prolonged, slow exhalation. Keep practicing few more seconds. Now, prepare yourself for the 3-time along with Shanti. Inhale for the Om. Shanti. 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 Feel the vibration and sensation. Join your both palm. Rub your palm. Place on your eyes. Feel the warmness. Very slowly while blinking. Looking at your palm. Gently open up your eyes with a great smile. Om Shanti. So in previous session, we discussed about it, the Akar chanting, right? We discussed about it, what is a Pranav meditation and how the signs of the sound, right? Now, in today, we're gonna practice the Okar chanting, the next variation of the, again, Pranav meditation, Akar, Ukar, Makar, then all together, the three syllables together we're gonna pronounce. So before gonna practice the Ukar chanting, let's talk about the symbolical meaning of the Pranav, symbolical meaning of this Pranav, and why we need to, the importance of, chanting the importance of chanting the So as you know, the sound is, this is a primordial sound, and this is the one sound which created the whole world. Whole world is created by this sound, this the vibration. Okay, now in Mandukya Upanishad, there is a detailed, information about the pranav, the chant, the meaning of the I know all of you, you are since childhood, you are chanting this, but the meaning, you have to understand the meaning of the mantras and meaning of certain sound you will get by your own. It's not, uh, the meaning is something which you cannot get through somebody else. It's more like experience. Are you understanding? It's more like experience. When you are practicing certain thing, you get your own experience, and then you're gonna assign the meaning. You're gonna assign the interpretation, your own interpretation, because the benefit, whatever vibration you are feeling about it, or what the observation you get it by practicing certain thing, that is, and then you come up with your own interpretation. That required years of the practice to understand the meaning. Even somebody gonna tell you the meaning, but you are unable to understand it, because we are talking about the things which is beyond our five senses, which you cannot understand through your eyes, just hearing the certain things, or just by sharing it. You cannot understand at all. It's beyond these five senses. It's beyond this limitation of the mind. It's beyond that. And that thing you're gonna get through the practice, which you uh, understand the words always come with the limitation. Each and every word having its own limitation. And we are talking about the experience which is beyond this word. You cannot explain, you cannot put into the explanation at all. There is no word to define the meaning of these kind of things. So that's why there is no literal meaning. Understand, there is no literal meaning is assigned to these kind of things, especially when it's come to the chanting. And these label doesn't have the literal meaning, symbolical meanings, yes. And yes, you can come up with your own meaning, your own interpretation also. How, what is your experience, what you gonna feel about it when years of practice, when you do the chanting. Many yogis, try to interpret this chanting, the pranav chanting. It, many sadhana they did, and very few yogis they succeed to understand the what is actual the meaning of the pranav. So in Mandukya Upanishad, it mentioned that pranav, the three syllable a u ma, a u ma. So where a is basically resembling, it's basically uh, symbolized with the one kind of energy, and A is the energy which talked about the creation. A, it means symbolical, you can understand there is a one kind of energy which related to the creation. One energy is creating the world, and we have the God for creation, that is the Lord Brahma, right? You can give the name. If you don't want to give the name, that's perfectly okay, because there's a many student who doesn't believe in the Lord God or something like that. That's perfectly okay for them. This one kind of energy which, the creation is happened because of that energy, and we have given the name Brahma. You can give any another name also. In your culture, maybe there's a different name also. So Lord Brahma created the sound, which is creating this whole world. And this creation, as it's started from your navel, as you know, Lord Brahma generated from the navel of the Vishnu, right? He coming out from the Vishnu. Vishnu is another form of the energy that is a preserving something, sustaining something, preserving the life, sustainment, where uh, development, growth, these things is another kind of energy. Another name for that energy is Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. So oo sound is symbolically attached with the Lord Vishnu, the energy which help you to preserve something, to develop, to grow that energy with which assigned with the oo sound. Then ma, this sound is destruction, but it's not negative here. Understand, in yoga there is no negative, nothing is negative. Okay, negative and positive, we talked about the energy terms. You require the positivity and negativity both together, and you require the neutral energy also. That's another thing. But another form of the energy, that is a destruction, which basically provide the space for the new creation. When old gonna die, then new will come, right? This is the science. When old things gonna die and they occupied the space, to clean that space, you required one kind of destruction. And when destruction happened, it give the space to it give the emptiness to the new things. When there is a beginning of something, right? When there's a pause, there's a sentence would be gonna start from there. So every time whenever you see there is a full stop, it means the next thing you can write it down. There's a new things gonna start from there. So the last one is the which play very important role in spirituality. That is a which related to the detachment. This energy also talked about the detachment, truth, the reality that nothing is permanent. Everything gonna die around you. This is the reality. This is the Jnani. Jnani has to think in that way, that he get into the realization that nothing is permanent, everything is temporary, everything around you die one day. It's gonna vanish one day, or it's gonna change into the another form. So these are the real things. These are the truth which Jnani, which yogi gonna accept. They accept it. Even you know about it. I don't say since childhood our parents are telling you, right? Gita, Bhagavad Gita, you are hearing about these things, but you are not accepting these things. Lack of acceptance is there. So we all are moved, we all are foolish. We are not accepting the reality. We are not living in the reality at all. We are in complete illusionary state. We are complete, ignoring state. Though we know, but still we are completely denying it. So that is another thing. But Shiv, Lord Shiv, is related to the Makar chanting, the third syllable, Ma, Makar chanting. which talked about, which symbolically mean destruction, but again destruction in the way which talked about the cleanness, removing all the old things from the environment, removing, making into the pralay, if you heard about it, pralay, doomsday, right? There's doomsday when everything gonna collapse, and again there's new beginning, there's new life, new things would be come. So that is a circle of the life. It's keep on going on in that manner. So these are the three form of the energy which are, oh, by chanting Akkar, Ukkar and Makar, you are basically accepting the reality. You are accepting, you are getting into the realization, oh, these are the three energy. I made of these three energy. My body gonna, I become a child, I created one, and then I'm growing. Day by day I'm growing, and now I'm gonna die. So these are the your life span also. So this is the biggest realization in your life. I'm not saying you didn't know about it. You know about it, but you didn't
Uh,
accept it, right? So the once you accept these things, the acceptance come by practicing the Akkar, Ukkar and Makar chanting. Another symbolical meaning. Yeah, Onkar, you want to say something?
destruction, we can also talk in terms of liberation, right? Means liberating you from the world. So in that sense, Shiva can like help spiritual speaker for liberation from this
That's
world.
I told. That's I told you, no, detachment, complete detachment from the world things. So detachment is when you detach, that's the very first step. You are completely free from everything. So yes, it means the liberation from this world,
So
liberated from not only this world, but there's another worlds also. There's a many types of the worlds also, but we're not going into that thing.
so I just wanted to like
But
one query on this also. Like uh, mostly on spiritual places where mostly yoga practices and everything is emphasis. In Bhakti Yoga, most of the places I find that the Shiva chantings are there or Shiva followings are there. So, is it the reason behind that Shiva is destructor or you can say liberation given person? So that's why is more emphasis given on worship of Shiva for the spiritual things. Just wanted to link anything is there like this because
to understand the Shiv, to understand this form of the energy, interpretation is many. Many people think about this is the first yogi. The Shiv is the first yogi, Adinath yogi. Many Hat yogis believe the Adinath is nobody but the Lord Shiva. And there's another form, another name, Shankar. But Shiv is like Shav, the god of the Shav, the dead bodies, the one biggest reality of the life, which we are not accepting at all. Especially Hatha yogis and if you know Nada Sampradaya, if you heard about it, and Aghori, they strictly believe and they strictly follow the preaching of the Lord Shiva. In Bhagavad Gita, though Lord Krishna is emphasizing on the Bhakti Yoga, where Radhe Shyam, Krishna, there is ISKCON temple, many people chanting that thing. That also lead you the same path. It doesn't matter what you are chanting. Interpretation depend person to person. Some people are follower of the Lord Shiva, some people are follower of the Lord Vishnu, some people following the Lord, Shakti, Goddess Shakti, Shaivism, Shaktism. There's many things, Vaishnavism. There's a many ism is going on. No matter whatever you are following it, okay, no matter, this is everything is the path of the bhakti yoga. You have to understand the beauty behind of Hinduism, that you can make your even your own god. You don't like Lord Shiva, don't like it. You don't like Vishnu, don't like it. You can create
Yeah.
your own God. You can make, and you can be the God also. You can be the God also. Even these people are keep on telling you can become your own God. So importance is that the marg is so much important. No matter whatever you are following it, no matter what words you are following it, what is the intention behind of it. You want to calm down your mind by chanting it. You're working on the three things all together. When you're chanting certain things, you create certain vibration. As I'm saying, sound is nothing but the science. Okay, whatever sound you're making around you, you're creating certain kind of energy, and that energy give you the strong vibration, strong, sensation in your body, which bring your mind in certain level that you can reach to the higher perception. The science behind of chanting anything, I'm not talking about that one kind of word you have to choose. There is many mantras, thousands of the mantras are written, millions of the mantras are written by the yogi, though they
Uh,
have the different meaning. Yeah, Anka.
yeah, about this also, this only, like, I understand that the bhakti yoga or any type of thing can be achieved in multiple ways. But I just wanted to know if any chants have, like, of course, every chant works, or every mantra works, or every god worship works, or everything work. But I just want to know if any chants have deeper vibrations. Maybe some chants have deeper vibrations. That's why they are linked with Shiva, and that's why they're linked with the destructions, and that's why spiritual speaker more emphasis given on that, because the aim of the spiritual seeker is liberation. So that's the actually my particular question was that some chants have deeper vibrations than other, or there's nothing like that.
Yeah, true. There's a certain Shid mantra. There's a certain, like, especially that's I'm saying Om Pranav is compared to the other chanting mantras. You're gonna see the strong vibration is in the Om chanting. You feel the more strong vibration. There's a Shid mantras also, Ram, Lam. These
Hmm.
are the Shid mantra. They are not giving you a certain kind of meaning. There's no meaning at all. Okay,
Hmm.
there's nothing, you cannot interpret the meaning, but because of they play certain strong vibration in your body, they create certain very strong vibration. That's why Asian yogi find out, because they did the research over the sound, right? And they find out by chanting certain things, keep repeating in a certain, in a proper manner, you are increasing the strong vibration in your body, and immediately your mind is under your control. Yeah, Adinath Yogi, the Lord Shiva, again I'm repeating it because he is the first yogi. That's why many yoga is related to the Lord Shiva.
Hmm.
Bhakti yoga is related to the Lord Krishna. But when we talked about the yoga, especially the Tantra yoga, Bhakti yoga, not Bhakti yoga, Tantra yoga, Ashtanga yoga, everything we actually Hatha yoga, we worship the Lord Shiva more in that way. Nad Sampradaya, Hatha yoga is started from the Hatha yoga, right? Laya yoga, Mantra yoga, everything is coming from the Hatha yoga. That's why Lord Shiva is on the higher approach, especially for people who are practicing yoga,
Hmm.
okay, hatha yoga
Yeah.
and these things. But there's other part of the, in group where the people are worshipping with bottom of their heart. They are
Hmm.
not accepting the Lord Shiva at all. They are just worshipping the goddess, or they are just worshipping the Vishnu, or another like even Ganesha or anything. But understand, our focus is to what? To create the strong vibration. Which mantras giving the strong vibration? Yes, there are the many mantras who to comparative to the other mantras, they are having the strong vibration. And those mantras are connected with the Lord Shiva, connected with the Lord Shiva. That's why people keep repeating and following more Shiv, but they don't know. They without understanding of that, the science behind of is what? The vibration and strong sensation in your body. That's it. This is the only concept.
Yes.
Okay. Now am I clear?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. आपने
Yeah,
जो
Jagu.
पूरा एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया ना तो मेरे को एकदम क्लियर हो गया। हम लोग है ना एडवांस शिविर में राम राम मेडिटेशन करते हैं तो अलग अलग रिदम में करते हैं। इतना इफेक्टिव होता है, एकदम पूरा वाइब्रेशन उसका इतना हेवी होता है। तो
Yeah.
आज मुझे समझ में आ रहा है वो डिफाइन किया अच्छे से।
हाँ, ये साइंस है। ये आप लोग ये समझो, दिस इज अ कंप्लीट साइंस ऑफ द साउंड। हमें यहाँ वर्ड्स में नहीं खो जाना है। And I know it's become religious now. People are following the one kind of group of the belief, and they start hating the other kind of group. Those who are follower of the Ganesha, they doesn't like the follower of the Vishnu or another follower. They think our God is good. Even within the in Indian continent, South Indian people, though the our deities and gods are similar, but they don't like North Indian. North Indian doesn't like their culture of the South Indian. So many things. But yoga doesn't talk about it. Yoga work on the science level. If the moment you understand the science, everything is very much clear. And Anapan, if you remember, when I was teaching you Anapan, there's no sound at all. There's no sound. You are not dependent on the sound at all. There's the simplest meditation. Even you are not dependent on the sound. But understand, mm, I don't want to say, but because Onkar asked this thing, so I want to add one more thing. According to the Lord Buddha, chanting the things is nothing just purifying the surrounding. That's why we have to chant. It creates positive energy around you and give you the help the meditator to do the meditation properly. That's it, nothing else. But Anapan, there's no words, there's no sound at all, and still it's effective, effective than the rest of the meditation. This is my personal experience. I'm talking about it. I can guarantee you the Anapan is the best meditation comparative to the other meditation, because you are not even dependent on the sound. But yes, initial level, people, those who cannot just go and observe their breath, is very difficult for them. So in order to, they create the imaginary, it's forcefully they are, so Asian scientists, ancient yogi, they figure out, okay, let's create the strong vibration, strong sensation in their body by reciting the certain words. So at least their mind would be a little bit under control. But what happened eventually, they start depending on that sound. That's why in higher stage, later on, slowly, gradually, they take out the sound at all and they remain into the vibration. Now the sound is going in your mind. Recitation is happening in your mind. That is the advanced level. Then there's another level also. But in Anapan, these things are not going on. You're going to observe the natural way of the sensation, which is keep going on. There's no created vibration, no created sensation. The natural sensation which is keep on happening in your body, you're going to observe. So very subtle sensation you're going to observe. And that's why it's more effective than the rest of the thing, because initial level, you're not using any prop, any outside object. You are using the inside object, that is the breath, and you are depending on the breath, and then you are practicing it slowly, gradually. The breath become very subtle, and then eventually very, very slow level, you feel the strongest level of the sensation and vibration in your body. But that is not created by. But here we are creating it. Are you understanding? Here we are creating it, but in Anapan meditation, the natural vibration, natural sensation you're gonna feel about it later on. But here we are creating. We are creating actually through the reciting and through the chanting. Clear?
आनापान से पहले प्राणायाम क्यों नहीं करना है, नाड़ी शोधन?
हाँ, क्योंकि because Anapan is basically, here you have to observe the involuntary action, and pranayam you are making the voluntary things. You have to put the effort into it, right? When you are training your mind to put something in effort, so when you're switching back to the involuntary action of the breath, what happened? Your mind is not trained in two things. it's become difficult for practicing the anapan because now your mind is trained in inhalation and exhalation with the effort, voluntary effect, right, going on in your body. And then later on, you just coming to the anapan, it's become difficult for you to observe the natural flow, the pure breath. That's why it's become very difficult. Otherwise, you feel, oh, you are inhaling and exhaling with the effort. But anapan is what? Without putting any effort. The breath which is keep going and coming out in the way you are sitting, the way you are talking, that breath I have to observe it. So that's why 1 year I didn't practice when I was doing the Vipassana. I was in center. I left the yoga completely because it's gonna affect the anapan. It's gonna affect your Vipassana meditation because in this yoga we are creating so many things, and arm chanting, mantra chanting. These are the part of the tantra yoga where we are putting effort, so much effort. And the vipassana and the anapan is completely the natural way. You just need to sit and observe the natural way what is going on around you. That's it. Completely opposite thing. These two are the opposite thing. I understanding. One way we are creating something, one way we are just observing. So when your mind is habitual of creating something, imagination, and something you require the certain outside object like chanting or something thing, your mind start depending on that. That is a difficulty. That's why Lord Buddha, after get got the mastery over the eight dhyana, he left everything. He stopped practicing anything. Yoga, Hatha Yoga, he practiced himself, everything he practiced. But at the point, he realized that he's not getting the ultimate goal of the moksha. So he left everything. He just wandered into the jungle and just there he just sitting one day and he get into the realization and started practicing these vipassana come to him automatically eventually when he stopped doing and putting effort and stopped having the practicing the other things, then automatically his body, his mind is ready for the natural acceptance. The moksha is a very natural way which come to you. It's not forcefully, you cannot attain it. Believe me. More you desire, more it's far away. It's it, the moment you desire, you are going in opposite direction. You are not attaining the moksha. This is a very natural way you have to go. That's why many yogi getting get the siddhi is quite easy. सिद्धि प्राप्त करना आसान है, मोक्ष प्राप्त करना बहुत ही मुश्किल है, क्योंकि वहां कुछ करना ही नहीं है. You shouldn't be doing anything, or doing nothing is so difficult thing. You're getting it. Doing nothing is the most difficult thing. The yogi does nothing. The yogi who does nothing, who is applicable, who is eligible to attain the moksha. Otherwise, we are just reaching somewhere little bit closer. But yes, way is so long. Now, understand? Okay. So now let's start practicing the ukkar chanting, keeping your back neck straight and gently close your eyes. Any meditative posture, whatever posture you are comfortable, keeping your palm on the knee in resting position, the way you like it, upward or downward, is completely up to you. And bringing the awareness towards your sitting posture. Now, bring your awareness towards the natural breath, how the breath going in and coming out. Observe attentively. Now take a deep, prolonged, slow inhalation, deep, prolonged, slow exhalation. For a couple of times, we're gonna practice inhalation and exhalation. Now, inhale for the O chanting. Take your own time. Take your own time to come back to your normal breath. Now, feel the vibration of OO chanting around your thoracic region. Now, prepare yourself for the 3-time Om and Shanti. Take a deep, prolonged, slow inhalation. Inhale, exhale. Now inhale for the 3-time Om.
Come to the downward facing dog. Now press your palms, bend your knees, cross your legs, and jump to your hands. Sit up and straight. Into a start pose.
Shanti. 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 Join your both palm, rub your palm. Place on your eyes, feel the warmness. Very slowly while blinking, looking at your palm, gently open up your eyes with a great smile. Om Shanti. Any doubt, any difficulty while practicing? So you have to chant from, you feel the vibration in your thoracic region when you're doing the oo chanting, and oo like making the little bit like this pout, right? And you making the sound from here, tongue completely resting. So this is the thing you have to keep in your mind when you're chanting. So meditation not gonna end here. You have to chant a lot, and tomorrow we're gonna do the very beautiful Makar chanting, and we're gonna talk about the Makar. There's another meaning of Pranav meditation. We're gonna discuss about it and importance of the Sanskrit chanting, why we have to chant only, not other kind of comparatively to the other mantras chanting. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna talk about it. So bless you guys. Be happy, Mangal ho, and enjoy your rest of the day. Meet you in tomorrow class. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Om Shanti.